Hi, this is Josh Jackson, editor of Paste, here at the Sennheiser plus Paste studio and lounge. I've got our film editor, Michael Dunaway, and our special guest, actor, director, producer, Edward James Olmos.
Josh, we're going to tell you, Michael, thank you guys for sitting in together. You know, that's fantastic.
So you not only act in the new movie Go for Sisters, you're also producer on the film.
Yeah.
What's it been like to work with John Sayles on you know, a little bit more of an indie project here?
This is a dream. I've been very fortunate, and most of my films have been indie films. I've worked with Robert M. Young, who's a prolific indie filmmaker. He's started back in 1938 to do his first film, and but we've been working together for like 38 years. And John Sayles has always been, to me, one of the giants in filmmaking, and because of his storytelling and the kinds of stories that he likes to tell. So when he called me and asked me if I would like to partake and help him produce his next movie, and I was, John, I said, my honor, are you kidding? Yes, I'd love it. So he sent me the script. And then after I read it, and I really found it to be very different than anything that I'd ever seen him do, or write. And I said, wow, this is completely different, interesting. And then he asked me, after I come back to him and said, yeah, I'd love to help you. He goes, oh, by the way, would you mind playing Fred? Oh, I'd love to play Freddy. Are you kidding? And so that's where it started. And so it's been an extraordinary, you got to remember, the film is independent. We went through 66 locations in 19 days. So you just divide that and you'll see how much movement we had. We went through from Los Angeles through Calexico, through Mexicali, through Tijuana. We hit for 5 days weather of 117 degrees and worked in that environment of 117 degrees outside. And it was a real test of understanding, and no one let us down. Everybody rose to the occasion, and our DP Kit is phenomenal. And I think it's her first major piece of work in respects. I think she's done a lot of work, but I think this was her first major piece. I haven't seen the piece. I'm going to see it tonight.
Tonight, it premieres here at South by Southwest.
And that's the first time I'm going to see it.
That's great. And well, tell us a little bit about your character, Fred, and you know, what drew you what made you want to play this guy and what you enjoyed of that?
Well, most importantly is the story. The story was quite interesting, and the kind of what was happening between the characters. There was 3 major characters, and they were all suffering. But I didn't know how much I was suffering until about 2.5 weeks before the film started shooting, when I got an email from John telling me, oh, by the way, your character has mackerel degeneration. What? What is mackerel degeneration? So he says, and that was it in the email. I mean, he said, oh, by the way. And I said,
time to go to WebMD.
2 weeks before we start. And so I said, okay, thanks, John. And I went into discovery what he had done. Truly a stroke of genius. I mean, you know, I don't know how or why his impulse. I don't know. You know, John works very calmly. I've never seen a calmer director ever under complete. I mean, it could be going south really badly, and things just falling apart, and we're losing whatever with the light or whatever. Calm and really understanding of what he's doing. And doesn't give you very many takes. 1. So you better be ready for a John Sayles film and to work with him. But what he did was he created a character, and all of his characters, the three main leads, that are completely humbled by their problems. And no, I mean, I'm the Terminator, he calls me. Okay, he says this guy was the Terminator. But now I have mackerel degeneration. Now, nobody in the cast knew that I had it. So when I'm working with them, they were like, what is going on here? You know, because this is mackerel degeneration, literally gives you peripheral vision, but it knocks out the center vision. You have no vision. I'm looking at you right now, and now I can see you. Anywhere my glasses are, I can't see. Anything above around my edges, I see. So I can see you right now. But I can't see you well, but I can see you. I can see all these people over here. I turn like this, I can't see anybody. So all of a sudden I'm working with actors, and they don't know that I have mackerel degeneration. They don't know what it is, you know, and I'm sitting there and I'm working. The first time, the very first scene, I'm sitting there, and the girls are constantly trying to catch my eye line, you know, and they're moving to it, trying to get to it. I could see them so uncomfortable. Brilliant. I mean, genius. I said, John, I'm so grateful that you have an understanding of this capacity to throw a curve that is so poignant to the story that it made the whole story just tension in every scene. So that's the genius of John Sayles.
Now, we're here at South by Southwest. You got your start as a musician before you took up acting. Are you going to be able to see any music while you're here? Or?
I don't know. You know,
music plays a big part in the.
It is the main part here. You know, I mean, it's for me. South by Southwest was music first.
Yeah, and in the film as well. In your film, you've got Gary Clark Jr.
Oh yeah,
and some music there, and
I actually play some music in it.
You play some music in the film.
You guys will be.
Play guitar?
Check it out. Yeah, I do.
I mean, in the film, you play guitar?
Yes, I do. Fantastic. Yeah, you guys will, you'll laugh. Coming from Austin, all you guys from Austin will laugh like crazy. No, I don't do too bad. I mean, I do all right.
That's good.
At this point in your career, you're probably sick to death of Battlestar Galactica questions, but
Not
I'm going to
really.
throw one in.
Michael, I got to tell you, and I tell everybody this, I am a fan of Battlestar Galactica. Big one. And I'm probably one of the biggest fans.
I don't know. I'll go toe-to-toe with you on that.
The cast and crew were the biggest fans. I got to tell you, you guys all enjoyed it. But man, we fell in love with the whole situation. It's the best television I've ever been a part of in my life. And I've done some really wonderful things on television. And but nothing compares to this. You know, people say to me, you know, Battlestar Galactica. I said, you know, please just watch the miniseries and then watch episode 1, 33.
33.
Just watch those two things.
Yeah.
If you don't like what you see there, then go home, get out, don't worry about it, just leave it alone. But if you like it, go to episode 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and don't ever break it and watch the whole thing. There have been one young woman has the record. She saw all the episodes, all 88 hours, plus the films, in 4 days.
Wow. She's
Figured
probably
out.
starting to feel like
I was in shock. 8 days.
Battlestar on 33 when they can't go to sleep. And,
Portlandia did it best. I don't know if you ever saw what Portlandia did. They were so good.
We have Fred Armisen coming in here tomorrow, so we'll have to talk to him about that.
Oh, what an incredible idea they came up with.
Well, the show, so much, you know, it's a sci-fi show, and you know, I would tell people if you don't like sci-fi, it doesn't really matter because it just really dealt with all aspects of humanity in what felt like a really real way, from politics to religion to inter-family relationships and fidelity, and it seemed like it wanted to explore anything. Did you have any idea what you were getting into when you?
Only to the point of understanding. When I walked in to talk with Ron Moore and David Icke, and they sat me down and they said, we were looking for an Edward James Olmos type, and then we decided to ask you if you'd do it. And I said, you know, I'm very grateful that you did, because it was in the writing. It's always been in the writing. And so the guy, Ron, reimagined a piece that was really true to the humanistic understanding of what we're going through. Okay, technology had gotten to the point where it had come back and destroyed us. Our own technology, we built it, came back, and now annihilated human species. And there were less than 49,001 people left, human beings, in the universe, as far as we were concerned. And the sadness was that we had no way of living anywhere because our planets were completely destroyed. So now we had no place to go. We're all in these little, like, you know, spaceships. But it wasn't about the spaceships. It was about the human condition. It was so strong that the United Nations in 2009, a couple of years after we were done, asked us to come and speak to the entire assembly. And so we spoke to the world on issues of, on waterboarding, on terrorism, on right to choose, right to life, on, reconciliation, which was really the main issue. How do you reconcile with an enemy that has completely annihilated your species? And that was the really big situation. And so we're the only pop or modern cultured television program that's ever been invited to the UN to speak on any level. We spoke for 3.5 hours.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
I'm curious when you got to the end of the show, because from the beginning of the show, you knew that it was a great show. You had no idea it was going to be a big hit, obviously. And I don't know how much you knew about how deep and, like you say, all-encompassing a show it was going to be. When you get to the end, when you're filming that last episode, you're seeing these people on set for the last time, I would love for you to walk us into what that feels like.
It was the hardest. The hardest because, everybody wanted to hang out. Everybody loved the situation. I get very, very emotional just when you ask me the question. The last scene that I did with Mary, or Laura, the president, was the last scene when she dies. And it was brutal. She collapsed at the end when we were done. And of course, she was dead. And it was very difficult for her because I cry onto her hand. As I put my ring on her finger, I'm crying into the hand. She could feel it, and she couldn't do anything. So when they hollered cut, and the scene was over, and that was the last scene we did. And that was it. The show was over for us. And she just stood up, and her son was there, and he was about 14 years old at the time, Michael. And she came out of the spinner and went into onto the floor and collapsed. And in heaving sobs. It was very difficult because we had learned, so much about each other and really grew to live that world. And, I'm sure a lot of people have that feeling when they're going to be separated. And we have been separated. We meet once a year, and I talk with her constantly. But it was something that really was hard to get to the end.
Mm-hmm. Do you miss being able to spend time with your character?
A lot, a lot. I liked Adama.
Yeah.
Guillermo Adama. The first Latino in outer space. I don't even think they understood what that meant. Because I'm not kidding you. I mean, basically, Lauren Green created the role in '78, but, Adama had a different kind of a feel in that respect. But when I took over the position, and they were afraid to offer me it because I'd turned down Star Trek. When they killed the commander, Kirk, they asked me if I'd take over the ship, and I said at that time I was doing a lot of stuff, and I really couldn't get involved at that moment in time with what they wanted me to do. So I thanked them, but I couldn't do it. And then all of a sudden this came up, and I was in the middle of doing a lot of work. And which, again, like John, our movies are very hard to make. They're Stand and Deliver took 5 years. American Me took 18 years. Mm-hmm. That took 18 years. It was, I mean, if you don't work on it, I have one that I've been working on for 30 years. I still haven't been able to do it. And but in essence, they asked me to do it. I've tried to understand it, and I went with it with Battlestar. And the writing, Ron Moore, I can't thank the writing people who wrote the whole piece. What can I say? Yeah. Too emotional.
Well, so as a producer, and you've talked about this movie that you've been working on 30 years, you've got another movie coming out with your son.
Yeah, my son directed it and helped write it, and we produced it together. It's called Philly Brown, and boy, what a story now, because it has a young woman in it who's a brilliant singer, who's a great artist. Her name is Jenny Rivera, and she was a Tex-Mex singer. and banda music. And where Selena Quintanilla went to, this woman went there and then took it further. Women in that kind of music, and she was like, by all intents and purposes, probably one of the highest CD sellers of modern times. She was selling like 25 million CDs a year. We never sell. Eric Clapton sells 50,000 in 1 year. He's lucky, because people pirate it. They just, So anyway, this woman is phenomenal. She came in. She helped me. She played the mother, and she did an extraordinary job. I mean, just amazing, amazing work. First time acting, and the first movie. And about 3 months ago, she was in a plane accident, and she died. And so the movie was shown for the first time since that incident in San Diego at the San Diego Film Festival, I'd say about 3 weeks ago. And a lot of her fans were there. No one could take it. It became like almost impossible. No one could even stand up after the movie was over. They were in heaving sobs because she does such a brilliant piece of work. And the movie is like in King's speech. Everything's moving towards that speech, and so the whole movie is going towards this one scene at the end of the movie, and it's played beautifully by everyone. Lou Diamond Phillips, Jenny Rodriguez, Jenny, of course, Jenny, and Gina Rodriguez and Jenny Rivera, and Christina, and the five of them are sitting there doing the scene. And when we were filming it, we lost it. People had to leave the room and get away from the sound because we were all very emotional. And so the scene was over, and everybody, said, "Wow!" And so when we put the film together, it worked just really well. It's just beautiful. So everybody was very happy, and it always brought a sense of emotion out. But now it's brutal. Now it's brutal.
And is it going to be playing any other festivals coming up?
I think it comes out on April 16th
Okay.
of this next month. It'll start be shown around the country. It'll come out. It's going to have a release.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a great conversation, and appreciate your time.
Thank you.
So I am Josh Jackson here with Michael Dunaway and Edward James Olmos at the Sennheiser Plus Paste Studio and Lounge at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, and we'll keep these interviews coming on the website, pastemagazine.com. Thanks.
Go for sisters.